Welcome back to another episode. This week I want to tell you how to race your best Ironman triathlon. My name is Matti Weitz. I did 13 long distance triathlons over the years, qualified for Kona twice, and I've been doing so many mistakes, so many painful lessons, which I hope you can avoid through this video and do your absolute best long distance triathlon in the upcoming year. I've got 3 key tips for you. The first one and really important one is park the ego. So we have to divide the park the ego part a little bit. The first one is for parking ego in training and the second one in racing. So it's not short distance triathlon. If you're a sprint distance guy and Olympic distance guy, parking the ego is maybe just for training, but in racing you need tons of ego all the time. If you're not in a group, you're nowhere. But that is different in Ironman. So let's get into the first one, parking your ego in training. Parking the ego in training means everybody knows consistency. I've been raving on about it. It's the most important one. If you do 6 months or 8 months of zone 1, zone 2 training without any specificity, without any intensity, it's going to be 10 times better than you doing 3 months of high intensity stuff and you're like blasting it each time. You're like bam, bam, bam. But then you have 3 to 6 months completely broken because you're injured or something going on and you have no consistency whatsoever because you didn't park your ego. We all know how it is. It is for all sports, for swim, bike and run. You know that specific session. It's fun to push more. It's a key set, let's say, and you have this hard run set. And in the end, the last 400, you really want to blast it, right? Maybe you're out with your mates and your friends on the track, then it's even more difficult. I'll come to that. But the last one, you don't have to do a max sprint at the end in your key session. Leave the 10 out of 10 effort for racing and go 9 out of 10 in training. It's still damn hard. 90% effort is very hard. That's what Eliab Kipchoge does in his training and marathon training. And I think the results speak for itself. He's barely injured, or I think the last 10 years almost never injured for long compared to his rivals who've been going probably in training 10 out of 10 and then they're injured and consistency is gone and you're not down the road as fit as you should be. We all do have that reasonable voice inside our head that says, hey, actually maybe you shouldn't do the finish sprint at the end of the set now if it's not planned. Just keep the pace consistent, but we have that ego voice. It's also fun. Like in the gym, for example, I used to overlift. I used to do, 100 kilo deadlift stuff. It's fun. It's fun to push. It's fun to smash yourself with the friends on the track and be sore after and like, wow, you feel so strong. You think you're getting so fit, but actually it's just increasing your chance of injury, just your chance of burning out. And especially if you go that hard, you do a 10 out of 10 effort, you are compromised the next day. So the real best ones in the sport, in most endurance sport, they are so good not because of one hero workout. Over the years they went up and up and up in quality and volume, and they can go day by day by day by day by day. You maybe do 3 days with them and then you're trashed. But they over the years build it up to the point that they can do quality and intensity to a level that you can't, because you didn't park your ego early enough and you just break apart. So don't compare yourself with others. If you are in a training group environment, know yourself. If you, for example me, if I go to a group training session, let's say swim or run workout, I know exactly I'm gonna push myself harder. I am good at pushing myself on my own, but probably a little bit harder, and I'm most definitely not gonna stop when I should. So that's just a fact. So in a racing scenario, at the end of the race, we come to that later, it's a great thing to push yourself, but in a training environment, before the session, the best thing is to avoid the session. Let's say you feel flat, you feel a little niggle, don't go to that session. Don't go to the training session with the mates because you are gonna smash yourself, most likely. So maybe just say, hey boys, I'm sorry I'm out for today, I'm not feeling 100%, and you do your easy aerobic training, maybe some zone 2 stuff, and you're good. Maybe the next day you're good to go. That's all you gotta do. Ironman long distance, 3.8K, 180K, 42K is an aerobic sport, except for maybe the competitive ones that do the first 200 to 400 meters of the swim, do anaerobic, the rest is aerobic. So you gotta be training aerobically. The 80-20 rule is very common, 80% aerobic, 20% quality and high intensity. Very good basic stuff. But most people actually that are beginners think the fit ones, they just train harder, they train better and harder. You have no idea how many easy miles and really low intensity, easy pace and heart rate they do in order to have that aerobic base, which allows them to have that high speed, that high threshold over a long time. Good example, the Norwegians. At the moment, they're dominating the sport. They do for the last 10 years already 35 hours a week, most likely, plus altitude, plus exact intensity control. So they do with science, which we all don't have the access to, most amateurs for sure not. They have the science behind them, making sure that they're parking the ego all the time, that they are not going that even few percent too hard, because they know if they do, the next day might be compromised. And maybe that leads down the road to something you don't want. So be smart in your training, park your ego, know yourself, know when you gotta push, which is in the race, 10 out of 10, smash yourself, but not in training. 9 out of 10 is more than enough to get you where you want to be. Then parking the ego in racing, that's one of my favorites, because I think the first Ironman I did, I didn't think anything like that. Second Ironman, I thought, oh, I got this thing figured out, right? And I started racing it. The first 60K on the bike, I started smashing it like, wow, this is great. And like by 120K, I was basically dead. So that's my day. And you would be surprised how many highly competitive ones from like, actually that's a mistake, from beginner to even pro, you see it each time in Kona, they just can't park their ego in racing. In short distance, you can do that. You have to actually do that. You have to push it, go with the group if you want to or not. There you need shit tons of ego. Sorry for that. But in long distance racing, actually the smart one in steady state, even Craig Alexander and all those, they all say it, you gotta do it like that. So if you wanna be a hero in the last 10K of the run. Before, stick to your numbers. Stick to your pace, stick to your effort, stick to what you did in training. It's a proper training day until the last 20K in the run, let's say 15K in the run of the marathon. Before that, it's nothing you haven't done before. You'd be surprised in Kona. I was shocked. I mean, the 2 times I've been there, you wouldn't believe it. Highly competitive guys, good athletes, right? And they all qualified, so they know their stuff. It's not the first Ironman. It's difficult to go there, but you wouldn't believe it. Until Hawaii, the halfway point, they're all going like heroes, like superheroes. And you wouldn't believe it, once they're at a turnaround point, 90K in, they like barely pedal 100 watts. They're falling down the hill, they're barely making it to T2, they're just broken from overtraining before and in racing with the heat. And then the same thing in the run. It's also not just in Kona, any Ironman you will see it. The first 10-15K, they go out way harder than they should, that their coach told them, that they're trained, because they're feeling good, right? They're feeling good. Yeah, right. So then 15K in, they're down to a shuffle. They're like, don't feel like an athlete at all. And then, yeah, that's it. So if you do need a little ego poke, yes, you right behind the screen there, you're doing long distance triathlon. I bet you can run the last 10K as fast as the first 10K in your marathon because you're too weak. How do you like that? How do you like that for a little poke? So be the hero, last 10K of the run, not the first. Trust me, if you just do the last 10K in a similar pace than the first 10K, you're gonna be flying by people that they think they're standing still. It's gonna be incredible, but it requires a lot of patience and parking the ego. Also mentally, I really like it to actually wait in the race. On the bike, you wait until 120K, 140K, then you can push a little bit more, most likely just a little bit more means others are going backwards. Same in the run, just wait. Everybody will shoot off, ignore them, and then by 20 or 25K, they're really starting to hurt, and you are gonna just maintain your pace, fly by them. Point number 2, how to race your best Ironman this year or in the future is planning your race nutrition. I've made another video about it up in the corner, you can click on it, have a look at that in detail, but planning your race nutrition is painful. It's a lot of effort required from you, money required to buy the products and test, and also really focus required to test them, because you're probably gonna have different things and you gotta like first try this product in this key session, take a lot of product of it, see how it goes, not at all, okay, product gone, next one, testing, and you gotta do that, because if you don't, you can train all you want, you can have all the fitness you want actually, you're not gonna perform. because you cannot just go on fat burning the whole Ironman if you want to perform to your best of ability. In short, figure out your sodium loss, figure out your sweat rate and your carb intake, which is way more than 90 grams that the body can take in. It's individual, just like regular diet, but you have to figure that out if you want to do your best Ironman, no doubt. Okay, let's go to tip number 3. The final one is tick off the basics. Tick off the basics, the first one I've been raving on about, and it is incredible important. Tick off the basics of the recovery, which means sleep, hydration, diet. Figure out how much you have to eat and drink and how much and what actually you have to eat of it, the basics. But then we come to the basics of swim, bike, run, which means for swimming, basics means you got to do technique work. Like not 2,000 meters of technique, but you got to do each session tailored to you, which means either a video analysis or a swim coach, like even just 4 times 50 meters at the beginning of a set, really working on your weaknesses. Let's say that's the catch phase of your stroke, which is really something people struggle with because they push straight down with the arm in the beginning and then the whole stroke is messed up. For example, you got to figure out what's your biggest weakness, and then you have the beginning of the swim, a drill only for that weakness. 1 or 2 technical things to work on, not more, because swimming is neuromuscular training. If effort would make you a good swimmer, every amateur triathlete would be a good swimmer. Why do most triathletes suck in swimming? Because they think effort requires pace in water, which absolutely does not work. So in cycling and running, it does work, gets you quite far, but in swimming, none of that works. So there you have to be really gentle with the water. The easier to go, the better you're gonna perform neuromuscular wise, and you're just gonna train your brain for the movement. That's all you gotta do. And if you don't do that with drills and specific stuff to your stroke, you're most likely not gonna get better. To a certain point, maybe that 130 pace, 140 pace per 100 is your limiter, and then you're stuck there for years, like I was. But now I'm down to like 120, below 120 for aerobic stuff. And that only is because of technique work. I learned how to kick in the water, all those things I couldn't do before. But I put the effort and the time in, which sucked in the beginning because it's not fun. Well, it is fun to improve, but it hurts your ego to really suck at things. Until you do them over and over and over again, and suddenly you become average at it, and that's already moving you a long way in swimming. Then the basics in biking is a good bike position on your triathlon bike. So even if you just have a road bike with bars on, you need to have a comfortable position that you can maintain for hours and hours. You wouldn't believe how many people I've seen with a disc wheel and like this speedy aero helmet after 3 hours on the bike sitting up like that because they can't maintain the position and they have low back pain. So you gotta rather start, if it's your first Ironman for sure, start a bit more conservative. Maybe you're leaving 20 watts on a table aerodynamically, but it's not as bad as sitting up for 2-3 hours with back pain in the race and then not being able to run after because you have back pain, let's say. So first do a full Ironman, a full 180k with a full marathon behind it in a certain position. Then you know if that position works, because a 4-hour ride easy is not the same as a 5-hour high intensity Ironman. High intensity effort for you in Ironman is not the same. And once down the line you have the position figured out, you can go more progressive with aerodynamics. They are also step by step. I don't change my position for at least 2 to 3 months in a row, trying it and training, and then I move forward that I get more aggressive and more aerodynamic, of course, which is something you can't ignore if you want to have a great Ironman. It's the longest portion of the race and easier to cut to the wind with gear, but 90% of aerodynamics is your body position. Most people don't know that. So the fanciest frame in the world is not going to help you if you're not sitting on that beast like an arrow in the wind. Then basics in runnings means that you gotta do some running drills, something in your warm-up, again specific to you. If you know, hey, you struggle with your heel raise in the back of your running, or like your hip flexor is weak, you gotta do some kind of activation drills for the calves, whatever it is that you're lacking. You have to do a little bit of that in your warm-up, maybe not all of your runs, but at least a few times a week. Just short, again, neuromuscular in the beginning of the run in your warm-up. It will help you to run more fluent and better for the whole session, which is all Ironman is about. It's ergonomic running for a long time. You're not going crazy fast. Even the best of the pros, for them that is not a high speed, but they can maintain it for a long time because they have the technique. What falls into technique as well, especially the best runners, you see it, Eliud Kipchoge, the Kenyans, they do it there, every single one of the best runners do it, is strength and core training, something you cannot ignore. If you're a very beginner and really the absolute minimum you should do is 2 times 15 minutes a week. There's gotta be some hamstring work in there, some glute work in there, single leg bridges, all that stuff, and in general some core. You gotta go once around, front side of the core, the outside, the back, some shoulder stuff, and you're good to go. That's the absolute minimum. If you're more competitive, you gotta be hitting the gym, something like it, 2 times a week for sure, minimum 30 minutes. That's what you need if you wanna have a good run technique for the whole duration of the marathon and have no back pain on the bike in an aerodynamic position. If you don't do that, you're not gonna race very well on the bike and run not to your potential for sure. Good, already at the end again. That's it for this week. I hope you learned something. I hope you're gonna have an awesome Ironman this year. If you did and you had any tips of it, please comment below, let me know. And I see you at any of the races out there. I'm gonna be hitting Ironman Frankfurt as my main race. It's gonna be a hot one, so I'm preparing for that and getting as physically fit as possible. With all those things I just said, I have them imprinted in my brain because I did those mistakes. So train smart, have fun, and see you out there. Ciao. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. You can really help me out if you like and subscribe, push your notification bell, comment below what you want to see next, and I see you in the next video.